Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian. It's Thursday, November 12th. Thanks for staying with us. A spike in COVID-19 cases on the island of Exuma leaves the competent authority no choice but to implement strict measures for the residents there to slow and contain the spread of the virus. These measures came into effect today. Effective Friday at 6 p.m., the island, with the exception of its keys, will be on a full 24-hour weekend lockdown. Exuma has confirmed 79 cases of coronavirus as of Tuesday, November 11th. Over the past week, the island confirmed 30 new cases, according to Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. 28 cases are active, 2 are hospitalized, and there has been 1 COVID-19 related death. The Prime Minister adds that the data collected calls for urgent action.
During the weekend curfew, business operations will not be allowed to open. The weekday curfew, Monday to Friday, will be from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. Commercial activity may continue as normal during the week, except as follows: fish fries, bars, and restaurants connected to bars will be closed. Private and public social gatherings are not allowed. Funeral services may take place at the graveside only and will be limited to 10 people, not including the officiant and caretakers. Weddings will be limited to 10 people, not including the officiant. Repasts and receptions are prohibited for weddings and funerals. Church services may take place only by virtual means.
The Prime Minister adds that immediately restricting travel from a high-risk location is another part of the competent authorities' strategy to manage the virus. That said, effective today, domestic travel by air or sea vessels is prohibited into and out of Exuma except in an emergency and where approved by the Director of Civil Aviation Authority or the Chairman of the Bahamas Maritime Authority.
Anyone traveling from Exuma to any other island in the Bahamas will be required to have a negative COVID PCR testing. This will be required in order to leave the island of Exuma, except where exemptions are provided for in the emergency powers order. I know that this is short notice, but this is essential after seeing what had happened on several past occasions. But such a measure is a critical part of the strategy to contain and to control the spread of COVID-19 throughout the country. This measure is designed to stop possible spikes on other islands because of individuals who may be COVID-19 positive quickly moving to other islands.
Dr. Minnis acknowledges that the restrictions implemented come with short notice. He also notes that under the emergency powers order, travel is restricted from an island where notice of a 24-hour curfew will be implemented. Anyone in breach of this will be subject to a fine under the order. The Prime Minister also pleads with residents of Exuma to abide by the emergency powers order and to not flee the island to avoid the order. He added that the Minister of Health will provide additional details on the COVID-19 situation in Exuma and an update on Eleuthera at the ministry's regular press conference this Friday. Well, opposition deputy leader, who also serves as the Member of Parliament for Exuma and Ragged Island, Chester Cooper, says the restrictions imposed are too blunt and he's fully opposed to the Prime Minister's announcement, adding that the immediate changes to the emergency orders will dramatically shift the state of everyday life on the island. He says while the rapid rise in cases on Exuma is very troubling and some restrictive measures may be warranted to slow the spread, he does not not support full weekend lockdowns as they are too blunt an instrument for the situation. He adds that his constituency was just experiencing some relief of the tourism front after months of lingering in economic doldrums, with international flights now coming in from Florida and North Carolina on Saturdays. Mr. Cooper adds that the island was also experiencing serious interest in domestic travel from New Providence before the quarantine was reinstated. He also says not only will this damage the island's brand internationally, but it will further starve Exuma's economy of vital tourism dollars. Additionally, he says tests are currently taking too long to come back for Exumians, hampering contact tracing and quarantining. He also notes that the hospital on Exuma is understaffed and healthcare workers are overworked. He says the hospital needs to be fully staffed and resourced so that it can serve as a healthcare hub for the central and southern Bahamas. The deputy leader reiterates that lockdowns are not a plan, and while they may temporarily reduce the spread of the virus on Exuma, the country needs a viable plan moving forward, and that includes widespread and free testing, contact tracing, quarantining those who have contracted the virus, and ensuring compliance and enforcing the public health protocols through the police and COVID ambassadors. If not, he says, we will be back here again in short order. In our national COVID news, health officials confirming a jump in COVID-19 cases, 64 cases of the virus confirmed yesterday. Grand Bahama recording the bulk of those cases with 38, 23 on New Providence, 2 cases on Bimini and Cat Key, and 1 case on the Berry Islands. As of the 64 cases, 50 are males, 13 are females, and the gender of 1 case is unknown. These cases bring the total confirmed cases of virus in the country to 7,124. Health officials also confirming an unfortunate death, that of a 64-year-old male of New Providence who died on November 10th. This death brings the national death toll to 155. Health officials recording 93 recoveries yesterday, bringing the total in that category to 5,192. 1,718 cases are active. Fortunately, hospitalized cases are decreasing. 28 cases are now hospitalized, 25 moderately ill, and 3 in the intensive care unit, all here at Doctors Hospital. 39,037 tests have been completed to date, 427 of them yesterday, 348 results returning negative. In news from Parliament, senators debated and passed a bill for an act to amend the Bail Act this morning. The bill was tabled in the House of Assembly last year and passed last month. Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Attorney General Carl Bethel, leading off the debate in the upper chamber, says it's a red-letter day for the administration of justice.
Provide for the making of rules for regulating the procedure for applying for bail and for connected purposes. Madam President, this is in this bill, it's a red-letter day for the administration of justice. It's a banner day. By this amendment, we will enable the Supreme Court first, and subsequently, hopefully by January, the magistrates' courts, to fully implement a system of electronic bail management. Now, the old system, going back to the 19th century, but I mean, that's sort of said sort of jokingly almost, but really it really came in, in the more modern era where people had reporting requirements placed on them if they were admitted to bail, which means they had to go to the nearest police station to their dwelling and sign in at whatever the specified periods of reporting were. As the world became more complex and police stations became much more busy, a number of things could happen. You go there and the shift engine, the fellow tell you, you ain't signing up now, you can come back later. Pushing them out of the station.
He adds that people were also able to send other individuals to sign for them, adding that there was no proper tracking mechanism, causing all sorts of issues to arise.
So this initiative which was started by my predecessor, but we drove it through to completion, is, I think, an achievement for both governments. It is an achievement for the Bahamian people because it will now have a mandate that when persons are admitted to bail and are given a reporting requirement, they must go and register in the system. It has biometric identification. Each kiosk is situated in selected police stations, the main police stations. So all that a person who has to report in has to do is to approach the machine and either use his fingerprints or the iris scanner, and they are identified as having reported into the system. And plus, in this age of COVID, it will be contactless.
He says the Bail Act also restores the jurisdiction of the magistrate's court to grant bail in serious cases.
We trust the magistracy. They are highly trained. We are satisfied that they will exercise this power responsibly. I'm not sure that could have been said about the mid-1990s, with all fairness to the government of which I was a part at the time, because, but you know, with time and experience, things will usually work themselves out. So it gives us great, we are privileged to re-empower the magistracy with the power to grant bail in appropriate cases.
Meantime, Progressive Liberal Party Senator JoBeth Colby Davis says she supports the amendments but raises a few concerns.
And while this is good practice and all form part of the intention to move our process into the digital era, it is important that we do not place so much heavy reliance on these computer systems which in some way can be manipulated or can without intention have some faults. Madam President, I support this amendment to the Bail Act because as an attorney, while I do not frequent the courts, there has been a mountain of complaints publicly by persons charged with misdemeanors who were remanded because of them missing out on the opportunity to appear before the Supreme Court in time for a bail hearing.
Senator Colby Davis also makes this appeal.
Calling for the records of those individuals who have breached the COVID-19 orders to be expunged. One of the reasons we have the right to amend laws is because we identify parts of the law that may cause unintentional harm and undue pressure on individuals in the society. Therefore, the orders were changed to remove the convictions and just grant police authority to issue tickets. I am told, however, that those persons who fell under the previous one and who challenged the charge in court without paying the fine received conviction.
Over the past 5 years, an average of 664 persons were granted bail by the respective courts. Within the 5-year period, the highest number was in 2018 when 939 people were granted bail, and in 2017 when 809 persons were granted bail. You're watching JCN News. When we return, PMH still calling for families to collect the remains of loved ones from its morgue, an unfortunate incident at the Sandlands Rehabilitation Center, and Samaritan's Purse leaves PMH. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.